The cold metal of the door handle didn't budge. I turned it again, harder this time, but the click-clack sound of the deadbolt told me everything I needed to know. David had locked me out. It wasn't just a mistake. It wasn't a "he fell asleep on the couch" kind of lock. It was the "I am teaching you a lesson" kind of lock. I stood there on the porch of our beautiful suburban home, my breath coming out in white clouds in the midnight air. I was wearing a silk dress and heels, shivering as the realization hit me. The man I gave 10 years of my life to had finally decided I was no longer welcome in his world. That night didn't just break my heart, it unraveled a web of lies that had been spinning since the day we said, "I do." Before we dig deep into this shocking story, kindly hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on your notification bell so you never miss real stories that reveal the darkest truths and biggest betrayals. And don't forget to drop a comment telling us where you're watching from. I'd love to see how far these stories are reaching across the world. To the outside world, David and Maya Sterling were the perfect couple. We lived in a house with a wraparound porch in a quiet neighborhood. David was a successful architect, a tall, handsome black man with a smile that could melt stone. I was a senior marketing director, the woman who had it all. We went to church on Sundays, hosted the best dinner parties, and laughed in all the right places. But behind those mahogany doors, the air was different. It was heavy. David liked control. He liked the house to be exactly 72 degrees. He liked the towels folded in thirds, not halves. He liked to get me home by 6 p.m. That night, I was late. A client meeting had run over, and my phone had died. I rushed home, my heart hammering against my ribs, praying he would be in a good mood. When I pulled into the driveway at 11:45 p.m., the house was dark. I walked up the steps, reached for the knob, and felt the ice in my veins. It was locked. Not just the bottom lock, but the heavy security bolt we only used when we went on vacation. I knocked softly. "David? Honey, it's me. My phone died, I'm so sorry." Silence. I knocked louder. "David, please. It's freezing out here." I saw the shadow of his feet under the door. He was standing right there. He was listening to me beg. "David, I know you're there," I whispered, my voice cracking. I looked at the window next to the door. The curtain moved slightly. He wasn't sleeping. He was watching. Suddenly, the porch light flickered off. He had manually turned it off from the inside, plunging me into total darkness. My husband was treating me like a prowler. I sat down on the cold stone step, burying my face in my hands. I thought about our wedding day in Atlanta, the smell of lilies, the way he cried when he saw me. Where was that man? As I sat there, a car slowed down in front of our house. It was a dark SUV. It lingered for a moment, then sped off. I felt a chill that had nothing to do with the wind. 10 minutes later, my Apple Watch buzzed on my wrist. It had 2% battery left. A text message from an unknown number flashed. "He's not who you think he is. Look under the loose floorboard in the tool shed. The key is under the blue pot." My heart skipped a beat. Who was texting me? And why did they want me in the shed at midnight? I didn't want to go to the shed. It was at the back of our large garden, hidden by tall hedges. But I couldn't stay on the porch. The neighbors would see me. I crept around the side of the house, my heels sinking into the mud. I found the blue pot, tipped it over, and sure enough, there was a small silver key. My hands shook as I opened the shed door. It smelled of oil and old wood. I found the loose floorboard David always told me never to step on because of termites. I pried it up with a screwdriver. Inside was a small metal box. I opened it, expecting money or maybe letters from another woman. Instead, I found a stack of passports. 5 of them. All with David's face, but different names. David Williams. David Okoro. David Vance. And then, at the bottom, a photo of me. But it wasn't a photo I had ever seen. It was a photo of me sleeping in my bed, taken from the perspective of the ceiling. I dropped the box. The sound of metal hitting would echoed like a gunshot in the quiet night. I froze. From the direction of the house, I heard the back door creak open. David was coming outside. I scrambled to put the floorboard back, but I didn't have time. I ducked behind a stack of mulch bags just as the shed door swung wide. David walked in, holding a flashlight. The beam of light danced around the room, inches from my face. He wasn't wearing his pajamas. He was dressed in all black, wearing leather gloves. He didn't look like a husband. He looked like a hunter. "Maya," he said, his voice eerily calm. "I know you're in here. You shouldn't have come to the shed, Maya. We were doing so well. Why do you always have to ruin things?" He started kicking the floorboards, searching for the box. I realized then that David hadn't locked me out to punish me for being late. He locked me out because he had work to do inside that he didn't want me to see. While he was busy looking at the floor, I bolted. I ran past him, out into the yard. "Maya! Get back here," he roared. I didn't look back. I ran toward the fence, climbed over it, tearing my expensive dress in the process, and landed in the neighbor's yard. I didn't go to their front door. I knew David would check there. Instead, I ran through the woods that bordered our neighborhood. I needed a phone. I needed help. I reached the main road and flagged down a passing taxi. The driver, an older man named Solomon, looked at me with pity. "Young lady, you look like you've seen a ghost," he said. "Please," I gasped, "just drive. Anywhere. Just go." As we pulled away, I looked back. David was standing at the edge of the woods, perfectly still, watching the taxi disappear. He didn't chase me. He just watched. I told Solomon to take me to a small hotel downtown. I used the last of my watch's battery to call my best friend, Sarah. Sarah arrived an hour later, breathless. "Maya, what is going on? Your mascara is everywhere." I told her everything, the door, the shed, the passports, the photo. Sarah grew pale. "Maya," she whispered, "there's something I never told you. About 6 months ago, I saw David at the airport. He didn't see me. He was with a woman, a white woman with blonde hair. They weren't just talking. They looked like they were working. They were carrying identical briefcases. We sat in the dim hotel room, the gravity of the situation sinking in. Who was my husband? I decided to check our joint bank account on Sarah's phone. The balance was zero. $400,000, gone. I couldn't just hide. I had to know the truth. The next morning, with Sarah waiting in the car with the engine running, I went back to the house. I had my spare key, but the locks had already been changed. Every single one. I saw a "for sale" sign being hammered into the front lawn by a man I didn't recognize. "Excuse me," I said, "this is my house." "What are you doing?" The man looked at his clipboard. "The owner, Mr. Vance, sold this in an expedited cash closing this morning. The new owners move in tomorrow. Mr. Vance." One of the names from the passports. David was erasing his life. I pushed past the man and broke the small window next to the kitchen door. I climbed inside. The house was empty. Not just empty of people, empty of furniture. Everything was gone. My clothes, our wedding photos, the sofa. In the middle of the kitchen island was a single envelope. I opened the envelope. Inside was a flight itinerary to Switzerland for one person, Maya Sterling. There was also a thumb drive. I ran to Sarah's car and plugged the drive into her laptop. A video started playing. It was David, sitting in our living room. "Maya," he said into the camera, if you're watching this, you found the box. I'm sorry it had to end this way. You were a wonderful wife, but you were always too curious. The people I work for, they don't like curiosity. They were coming for us tonight. I locked you out to keep you away from the house while they searched it. I had to make it look like we were fighting so they wouldn't think you were involved. If you want to live, get on that flight. Don't go to the police. They own the police. Suddenly, the video cut to a shot of Sarah's car, the one we were sitting in right now. It was a live feed. Sarah, get out of the car. I screamed. We scrambled out just as a black SUV, the same one from the night before, pulled up behind us. Two men in suits stepped out. They weren't the police. They looked like professionals. One of them held up a phone. Mrs. Sterling, your husband owes us something very valuable. He seems to think he can trade your life for it. We disagree. I realized then that David hadn't been protecting me. He had used me as a distraction. He had emptied our accounts and fled, leaving me to face the people he had robbed. The protection story in the video was a lie to keep me from running to the authorities until he was safely out of the country. We ran. Sarah and I sprinted back toward the woods. The men followed, their footsteps heavy on the dry leaves. This way. Sarah yelled, leading me toward a steep ravine. We tumbled down the side, hiding in a small cave-like opening covered by vines. The men stood at the top, cursing. We lost them. Call the boss. Tell him the girl is gone. We waited for hours in the damp dark. When we finally crawled out, Sarah turned to me. Her face was different. She wasn't shaking anymore. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a burner phone. He's at the secondary location, she said into the phone. She looked at me, and my heart broke for the 100th time that day. I'm sorry, Maya. But David offered me half of the $400,000 to make sure you were in the right place at the right time. Business is business. Sarah, my best friend of 15 years, had been in on it the whole time. She hadn't come to the hotel to help me, she had come to track me. She led me back to the house on purpose. Why, Sarah? I whispered. Because I was tired of being the poor friend, Maya. I was tired of watching you have the perfect life while I struggled. She pointed a small pistol at me. David is waiting at the private airfield. You're going to come with me, and we're going to use you to get the rest of the codes out of the safety deposit box. But as Sarah went to grab my arm, a shot rang out. Sarah fell, clutching her leg. Standing at the edge of the clearing was David. But he wasn't alone. He was handcuffed to a man in a windbreaker that said FBI. The man in the windbreaker stepped forward. Maya Sterling. I'm Special Agent Marcus Reed. Your husband has been working with us for 3 years to take down a money laundering ring. That unknown number that texted you. That was me. We needed you out of that house because we knew Sarah was a mole for the cartel. We had to make Sarah believe David had gone rogue so she would lead us to her handlers. I looked at David. He looked exhausted, his face bruised. Maya, he said, his voice thick with emotion. I couldn't tell you. If I told you, you would have been a target. I had to make you hate me. I had to lock you out to save your life. The stolen money was in an escrow account held by the government. The passports were part of his cover. The FBI took Sarah away. David stood there, a free man but a stranger to me. It's over now, Maya, he said, reaching for my hand. We can go back. We can start over. I looked at him, really looked at him. I thought about the fear I felt on that porch. I thought about the fact that he let me believe my life was a lie for 3 years. I thought about the man who watched me cry through a window and turned the light off. No, I said, stepping back. You saved my life, David. But you destroyed my soul to do it. You didn't trust me. You played a game with my heart. I turned away from him and walked toward the FBI car. "I want a ride to my mother's house," I told Agent Reed. 6 months later, I sat on a different porch. It was a small cottage by the sea, far away from the suburbs and the secrets. I had my own bank account, my own name, and a door that I locked from the inside, for my own safety, not as a weapon. David tried to call, tried to send flowers, but some things can't be rebuilt once the foundation is found to be made of sand. That night he locked me out. He thought he was protecting a secret. He didn't realize he was setting me free. I learned that the people we love the most are often the ones we know the least. And sometimes, being locked out is the only way to finally see what's inside. And just like that, a life that once looked perfect crumbled into secrets, betrayal, and truths too heavy to carry. Maya thought she had lost everything that night on the porch, but in reality, she found something far more powerful, herself. Because sometimes, the people we trust the most are living double lives. Sometimes, love wears a mask so convincing, you don't see the cracks until it's too late, and sometimes the greatest act of survival is walking away, even from the person who claims they were trying to save you. David chose duty over honesty, Sarah chose greed over loyalty, and Maya, she chose herself. But here's the real question, what would you have chosen? Would you forgive the man who broke you to protect you? Would you spare the friend who sold you out for money? Or would you walk away from both, and never look back? Drop your thoughts in the comments, I want to hear what you think. And if this story keeps you on edge, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because the next story might be even darker. Remember, not every locked door is meant to keep danger out, sometimes, it's meant to trap the truth inside. See you in the next story.